Welcome to the Silver Screen Podcast. I'm Jared Boomer.
And I'm Katie Gainey West. This is a podcast about movies and pop culture.
And it is our Oscars recap episode. The 98th Academy Awards have happened. We know all the winners. We're going to talk about the big moments. We're going to talk about the fashion of the night as well. So lots to talk about on this episode where we are recapping the Oscars.
It's our favorite episode of the year, basically.
This one and I think our top 10 movies are definitely both of our favorites. Yes.
I do get really sad when this episode's over, though, because I'm like, oh, now we have a whole year to wait.
You have to wait till March again. Yeah.
I know, but I'm excited to share my opinions. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about the show.
So we'll just kind of start it off with the host of the show, which was Conan O'Brien, his second year hosting. Thought he did a pretty good job. I thought there were some jokes that I thought were funny, but didn't seem like they landed with the audience, but I thought they were pretty clever. I thought overall he kept a nice pace of the show. He showed up a couple of different times, did like little bits and gags and things like that. And I thought he was good in his second year. And I think they said if he wants to come back, he's more than welcome to come back. I saw that a report from somebody high up at Disney, who obviously owns ABC. They were like, "Hey, as long as he wants to do it, we'd love to have him." So,
yeah, I thought he did a good job too. And he seems. I mean, I think they generally try to pick people that are like this, but he seemed very comfortable and poised. Like he did not seem nervous in any capacity. And I think he's a really good pick. He's not like a triggering pick for people. And I was surprised, Jared. I looked at our notes from the last time he hosted. I do think he was more political this time than he was previously. Previously, it seemed like he didn't touch politics with a 10-foot pole.
Mm-hmm.
This time he said some things. I loved everything he was saying. But I think that was kind of cool because I think we're starting to see that people who are just quiet 100% of the time seems to be more problematic now than having an opinion.
I also liked the opening. I thought that was fun how he dressed up as Amy Madigan's character from Weapons and then went through all the Best Picture nominated movies.
Yes.
And they just kind of like spliced him into scenes from the movies. I thought that fit because, it's the Oscars and it's about the movies. And that was also kind of like a high energy open. And I remember saying to Allison, like, I liked that. The Oscars don't have to be like all the time like, oh, let's put on our tuxes and sit here and it's the Academy Awards. And it's, it's like sometimes we can have some fun, when we're starting the show.
Agreed. I think so. I really liked the beginning. And my favorite bit personally was when he reenacted Casablanca with Sterling K. Brown. That was, now I could see that not appealing to everybody. It depends how much you know that movie, but I am crazy about that movie. We've done our favorite movies of all time. That's in my top favorite movies of all time. And I just thought it was so funny because that movie in itself is, I think, a nearly perfect film. But it is funny, even in Casablanca, the original one, how some of the stuff that is said is kind of like obvious. It's like saying to the, oh, Elsa left you because, but I like how he kept trying to appeal to young people because even though I consider myself to be young, I did think it was funny when he pulled up like the graphic that was like, hey, this is going to get young voters who we know are watching TV right now, like sitting watching. He didn't say dial up. He said something cable television or something like that.
Yeah.
Everything. It was just so funny. And I like that he poked fun at different generations and tried to appeal to various audiences. But that was my favorite bit for sure, was the Casablanca moment.
Yeah, I thought he was good and the bits were fun and his jokes were good as well. He made a dig at Netflix, which I thought was funny.
Yes, please.
He said the sequel to F1 was going to be called Caps Lock, which was a nice funny computer joke. So I thought he had some good ones.
That funny to me, but it is.
Now it just was. I don't know why, but it was very funny. So for the most part, the ceremony as a whole was pretty good. They did have some audio issues at times for sure. They had some camera cut issues too. At times it just felt like it wasn't the Oscars. It felt like it was like some low budget production. But there is a lot of moving parts going on. You have a lot of different presenters, a lot of different people winning awards. The people on the, doing the broadcast don't know who wins the award till they win. So then they have to like rush to find them in the audience and get a camera on them and all that. But I thought that there were some technical issues, but I felt like for the most part it was pretty good. And I thought, like you have here in the notes, the speakers, most of them got to say what they wanted before they got cut off. There were a few that did get cut off, but for the most part, they just let them talk.
Yeah, I thought that was distinctly different than previous shows. Normally, they just say, like, screw you, we don't care what you're saying, and they cut them off and play music. And this year, it was so bizarre. They would start the music and stuff, and then it seemed like they would stop it and let people talk. And they did that for most people, but I do think they were kind of getting concerned about the long run time and we got
Hmm.
to go to commercial and all that. But for them, because there were definitely still some people that got cut off that I felt bad for them. But I like that they're doing that because this people are working their whole lives to get this and they might only get it once. And for someone to get cut off because they win like a short documentary film, but then we don't cut off the best actor speech, like that doesn't look good. So I appreciate that they're doing that. And I also think they've learned from previous years, like people like Adrian Brody and stuff who are like, I'm gonna keep talking no matter what. I think they've realized we kind of have to give in to some of these speeches because otherwise people are gonna talk no matter what or stand
Hmm.
there until we give them audio again.
I will say on a few of those, I didn't blame them, the orchestra that started playing the music, because like the one person would be done and the second person would take 10 seconds to get up there and say, it's like, you got to
Yes.
go right after that first person is done. Like you got to be ready.
Fair.
And if you're
And
not, they're going to play the music and think you're done basically.
I do agree with you on that. And I think there are some cast or like not cast, but like crews, people where it's like 4 or 5 people are coming up to accept the award. I think you should decide it's okay if you don't want to assume you're going to win, but I think you should decide if there's 5 of us, which 2 people are going to get to talk or how can we think are we going to thank the entire team or are we going to thank our family members? Like there are ways to plan and prepare for that to make it where you're still thanking people but, within a considerate amount of time.
Hmm. There was like one where I forget who it was, but the guy got up there. He had to get his glasses on. He had to get his note out of his pocket. And like, I understand that to a point, but also like when your category's getting announced, like, get all that stuff ready, my man. So when you're ready, if you do win, you're
Uh-huh.
ready to go when you get up
I
there.
think I definitely think it was hair and makeup because he was the one that like hugged Jacob Elordi when he was coming up and said that he had sat for 400 hours in the makeup chair getting his work done or whatever before filming. I know the guy you're talking about
I
though.
did, I did love, I did love the Jacob Elordi reaction shots. He was real excited whenever Frankenstein won anything, and they would just cut to him a bunch. So he was good. He was in the front row, but he was given
Yeah.
the reaction shots. So
And I thought they actually did a pretty good job. I obviously have a lot to say about Timmy, but I thought they did a really good job of only panning to Timothy Chalamet a few times because there were a lot of jabs made at his expense that night. A lot.
yeah, he got the brunt of a lot of jokes and some speeches, and and he was sitting in the front row, and he took a decent amount of criticism, obviously, for his comments. So it was also interesting that there was a tie this year for best live action short film. I thought Kumail Nanjiani navigated that very well. I don't know if they gave him a heads up before he walked out there, or if he just discovered that when he opened the envelope. But I thought he was like, I'm going to announce the one and they'll come up, and then I'll announce the
Yes.
next one and they'll come up. I thought that was because we know from a few years ago, the whole best picture snafu, that could be handled very poorly if you do it incorrectly. And I thought he did a nice job of navigating that, making sure both winners got up there and got the recognition.
I literally had the same questions and comments because I thought he's not always my favorite. He's fine. But I thought he did such a good job of explaining it. He did a good job of keeping it lighthearted, saying, I'm not joking, and like making a few jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
he explained, this is how we're going to do it. But he seemed so composed that when he opened the envelope and said it's a tie, he looked kind of shocked, but then he knew exactly how to instruct them how to do it. So I was like, I think
Mm-hmm.
somebody had to give him a heads up. I don't know, but he
They
handled
either
that
had to
really
say
well.
like something, hey, just FYI, something's going on weird with your category, or you have two winners, or something. I mean,
Yeah,
they probably didn't tell them the winners, but they probably said, hey, this one's weird.
one's
Just so
gonna
you
come up.
know.
Yeah, but he did a really good job with that. And I don't have the stats, but I was looking. It's extremely rare to have a tie at the Oscars, and I was so excited about it just because that category specifically, I think that was live action short. I
Hmm.
got I was right about one of them, and it was the exchanging two women exchanging saliva that I had talked about on our last episode of the pod, and I said it was such a bizarre uh like film, but it stuck with me. Like it left such an impression. I have talked about that to more people than I think any of the other short films I saw. And so I was really happy that it won. And it, I don't know, just made me feel good that I was right, I guess.
I also really liked that short too, and I thought it was one of the more original ones in that category. I did not get to watch all of those, but I watched the ones that were readily available, and that one was pretty interesting. So I was happy too that it won that category. So the bridesmaids reunion, that was I thought that was funny at times, but I also thought that went on like way too long, and then to like do that, but like cut off the artists and songwriters of Golden for winning best song. It's like we could have made up time earlier in the. I get the whole the bridesmaids reunion was fun. I'll even throw the Moulin Rouge reunion in there, where Nicole Kidman and Hugh McGregor, decided to sing for some reason right before they presented Best Picture. I don't know why
Yeah,
before
I
we do the
didn't need
biggest
that.
award of the night, we have to have the cringiest thing happen. It's like every year we have to just nobody that presents Best Picture can do it in the correct way, but they did pretty
I
well. But that bit was that didn't I didn't love that either. So
I definitely could have completely done without the Moulin Rouge shtick. That was not funny to me. Um, but I did so the bridesmaid thing, I had the same thought. I was like, "Oh, this is so cool to see them." And I thought some of the notes were funny, but then all of them seemed long. And then when I realized, oh, all five of them are going to deliver a bit, I was like, okay, it's a little bit too long now. So that was one that I would have cut down. I agree with you. I think for the most part they did a good job. I even remember at one part in the ceremony I looked at my clock and it was only 9:15 or something and I was like, "Oh, I'm shocked. I am shocked." So, like in a good way. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe we've already gotten this much done and it's not midnight." So, I think overall they're getting a lot better with time. I think a lot of that has to do with starting the show an hour earlier.
mhm.
But yeah, I agree with you. There were definitely moments they could have edited pretty easily to make it shorter.
And it'll be interesting too once they go to YouTube in a few years if they worry about the time constraints or if they don't care because it's on streaming and so they don't have a time constraint at all. It'll be interesting to see like are there more bits? Are they longer? Do they cut anybody off with their speeches or do they just let everybody go as long as they want? But then you have the thing where it might turn into a 5-hour show and I don't think anybody wants that because then it would just really drag a lot. So Adrian Brody was good too when he came up and presented Best Actor. That was funny. He made fun of himself for last year, what he did when he won Best Actor during his speech.
Yeah.
And it's nice that they've started this tradition. I mean, it's been going on for kind of a while now, but that the previous year's winners of that category come and present the next
I
year's
love
winners.
that. Yes.
Now we'll see if Sean Penn does that next year.
No, probably
Who
not.
knows? Maybe Kieran Culkin will get the job again 2 years in a row. So
I have so much to say about Sean Penn later, but I've thought about it. Last night I was falling asleep and that's what I was thinking about was just like how much I'm bothered by him. But anyway, we'll get there. That's the one rant I get this episode.
So I guess we'll go to the in memoriam now, which overall I thought was pretty good. I really liked
Mhm.
how they had the different people come out and talk about certain people that were not technically more important, but more well known probably than some of the other people that passed away. The music that was playing was nice as well. The only one I thought that was a little was Barbara Streisand. I felt like she didn't really
Mhm.
know exactly what she was doing there. I thought Rachel McAdams was very touching about Diane Keaton.
So good. Oh,
You could just tell she was really speaking from the heart, talking about Diane Keaton.
yeah. And she's so
And she talked about Catherine
poised.
O'Hara a little bit too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And selfishly, so I thought the In Memoriam was fantastic. That was actually, I've heard more people talking about that. And it's so interesting that the Academy actually figured out something that was really touching for people that normally they mess up. I feel like the In Memoriam every year we complain about who's left out, this sucked, this went on too long. And I thought they really clearly put some effort into it. Now, I will say selfishly, I was really happy about the four people they represented because they were talking about the Reiners and then Diane Keaton and Robert Redford, who those deaths were the ones I will say that upset me the most in the last calendar year. But somebody, especially Rob Reiner and Robert Redford, they made such contributions to the film industry itself that I think it was warranted. And Diane was so beloved. And Diane seemed to be a really great person on and off stage. And it seemed like she had a reputation, a good one for a reason. The Reiners, especially, it's really tragic. But also, when you see, I was glad they pointed out the long list of movies, which Jared and I referenced in an earlier episode right after their murder. But there was such a like variety in genres that he covered. And then he and Michelle Singer, like they even mentioned, had such a deep impact on gay marriage in America. They were very outspoken advocates of so many different causes. And then Robert Redford, I was fully with you, Jared. I was really confused as to why it was Barbara. I knew immediately that it was because of the way we were. But Jane Fonda, I couldn't tell if this was a joke or not, but Jane Fonda on Instagram was like, I don't know why they picked Barbara Streisand. I was in 4 movies with him. And she's right. I mean, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
question it anyway, but she has a really good point. But Robert Redford, what I was more upset about was also, I don't think they even fairly represented him. Like they just were like, he was really cool and hot. And I was like, yeah, he also was an enormous advocate. He started the Sundance Film Festival and he was just known for so many different causes. Like it was an actual environmentalist and things like that. And so it's very weird to me that she just focused more on like, he was really good looking and we hit it off and he called me Babs. And I'm like, okay, thank you, Barbara. And then she sang, which is rare. You don't get to hear her sing anymore much these days. But I also was like, okay, now this is becoming like a Barbara Streisand reunion and not focusing on him. So I was
Mm-hmm.
bothered by that, but I was glad they talked about Robert Redford because he's one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yeah, I thought the In Memoriam overall was pretty good. I think Billy Crystal was probably the
Yeah,
perfect person to do Rob Reiner's tribute and
totally.
did that fantastically. And Robert Redford too,
Yeah.
just mentioning him, like he did so many interesting roles throughout his career as well. Like obviously All the
Hmm.
President's Men, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, The Sting. I mean, all those are cool, interesting roles. And I feel like you're right. They kind of just like were like, look at how hot he was in the 70s.
Yeah,
And
which
that
he
was like
was.
the In
I truly
Memoriam
think
tribute.
back in the day, one of the hottest people I've ever seen in my entire life. I get it, but I'm also like, he was a lot more than this. And the last thing I wanted to say, I didn't notice it immediately, but I did think later how James Van Der Beek and Eric Dane were not in it. And I know people were upset. They are listed. They always publish an online list of people for the In Memoriam, and they're on the list. I can get the argument that they didn't do many movies. They were mainly TV
Hmm.
actors. But especially those 2 deaths in particular were so devastating and say so much about our healthcare system that a lot of talk has been made about their deaths and they were so recent that I was kind of surprised. And the argument always of like we didn't have time, I'm like they even put 2 or 3 people on a slide this year. I don't understand how one extra slide with 2 people would have been too much to ask, but that's fine. They can always make their excuses. I'm just trying to argue both ways. I get that they did more TV and stuff, but I think that their deaths had a lot more. I mean, if we even think about how they died, and especially with the uptick in colon cancer, which Catherine O'Hara, I believe, had anal cancer, but either way, there has been an increase in young people dying of colon cancer. So the fact that James Van Der Beek had become an advocate for that, and then also Eric Dane talking so much about ALS,
Hmm.
I was just kind of shocked that they left them out. I thought that wouldn't have been a hard slide to put in.
It was an interesting omission, I think, for sure. But for the In Memoriam, but I think overall they did it. They did a nice job, and I liked how they. I think the sometimes the boring part of the In Memoriam or the thing that makes it feel long is like when you just see slides of people for 20 minutes, and they did a nice job of like splitting those up with the little tributes to the bigger names that passed away. So now we'll go into some of the acceptance speeches that happened on the night, and lots of course, big awards. There was a few surprises, but for the most part, the big categories kind of went as expected for the actor and actress categories. Jesse Buckley had a great speech. Thought one of the best speeches of the night. for sure when she won for Best Actress. Now, this is a
Oh my
situation
gosh.
where she knows going into the ceremony that she's going to win. It's just like that was the
Right.
most clear cut category of any of them that she
Yeah.
knew she was going to win. So she really was able to
Yeah.
prepare something, but it sounded very from the heart. It was very compassionate. It was very poignant. She talked about being a mother,
Mhm.
which obviously is so important for the role that she played. That she won with Hamnet, and I just thought she really did a great job, and I know you really enjoyed that speech too.
I loved it. I felt it a lot because I just think this whole topic of motherhood has been really interesting in my life in recent years, becoming a mother myself, but also having so many friends who either can't be a mother or want to be a mother and for some reason haven't been able to. And I don't even think you have to be a mother to understand what she's saying because we all have mothers. So it was beautiful. But the quote that everybody keeps replaying is she talked about how it was Mother's Day in the UK on March 15th, which was so cool. And she said she wanted to dedicate this to the beautiful chaos of a mother's heart. And I felt that so deeply personally, but I just thought she just did such a remarkable job. And some people I think when they give their speeches, they walk up and they like have a moment where they can kind of calm themselves down and speak very clearly and be very poised. And I thought she executed that really well. Cause some of the speeches, like even Amy Madigan, we eventually got somewhere, but I felt like her speech was a little all over the place, um, for a second. But she was lovely and delightful. But I was like, Amy, where are we going? Where are we going? And we finally got there. But I felt like Jessie Buckley stood up, and it was just like, here it is, and she's just very very lovable. But I'm so happy for her. That was one of my favorite speeches.
Michael B. Jordan's speech also was good, winning for Best Actor. That category was kind of a toss up. It was going to be probably between Timothy Chalamet and Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. had won the last couple of precursors leading up to the Academy Awards, so it was leaning his way.
Mhm.
But thought he did a great job in his speech too. He thanked all the previous Black actors that had won either Best Actor, Best Actress,
Mhm.
or Best Supporting throughout the years. And I also thought what was cool is that he thanked the people watching at home, which I don't know if I've ever seen before. He thanked the people that went to
Yes.
the movie and saw the movie and made the movie popular,
Yes.
which I thought more people should do that because a lot of these movies, some of them are pretty low key, but Sinners obviously wouldn't have been where it is in Academy Awards conversation if it hadn't done so well at the box office and if people hadn't, talked about it to their friends and coworkers and things like that. And so I thought that was just cool how he was like, "Thank you for supporting me and letting me do this as a career." And then he went to In-N-Out. I saw afterwards on Instagram,
Yes.
and just that's where he hung out after the Oscars. So
So cute. And he I did put I did put in my notes because I think this was telling. There were some really good speeches. And normally I enjoy the speeches, but I was really taken with some of the comments in the speeches this year. And I put in the notes, unlike Timothy, I'm full of myself. I am greatness, Chalamet. He being Michael B. Jordan, acknowledged that he needed others to get where he was because he thanked everybody, just like what you're saying, Jared. I also picked up on that. And then he said he knows other people want him to do well. And so he's trying to do his best. But it didn't sound like this pretentious, arrogant douche. He sounded like, I needed other people to get me where I am. And I also want to point out, you're right that the odds were going a little in his favor, but out of the major awards, he only won the SAG, the Actors Award. And so it was really a toss up. And even when I was submitting an online ballot, looking at it, a lot of people, it was like 25% or 30% of people thought that he was going to win and overwhelmingly thought it would be Chalamet or even Leonardo DiCaprio. And I was like, I just feel that the Academy doesn't reward arrogance and they don't like to reward young attractive dudes, and Michael B. Jordan is nearing 40. You know what I mean? Like he's been in the industry a long time. He's proven himself. And I don't think the whole night went that way, but it definitely did work in his favor for that award. And I'm thrilled for him. That one, there were a couple that made me either cry or tear up, and that was one of them.
I also wanted to another really cool moment that happened during the night was when Ryan Coogler won for Best Screenplay, and he got up there and got a standing ovation. And there's another guy that's not even 40 yet, and obviously is making very highly acclaimed movies. Sinners, Black Panther, both Black
Yeah.
Panthers, Creed, all of these movies that people love. And he's not even that far into his career yet, probably as a filmmaker. He's still in the early part of his career. It just kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, somebody like Steven Spielberg in a way, who like started really young and had a
Exactly.
lot of really good movies out of the gate. And Ryan Coogler's kind of doing the same thing. But I really liked his speech, and I just really liked how he was kind of acting the whole night. Like somebody from Sinners would win, and he would, dab them up as they went up on stage, or give them a high five or give him a hug. But you could tell that that crew of that movie was very supportive of everybody who worked on that movie, not just the actors, but everybody else that was involved in
Yes.
that movie. And I got that a little bit from One Battle After Another too, but I think I got it the most from Sinners, just that how much of a collaborative effort that was for everybody that worked on that.
Yep, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I thought he gave a beautiful speech. The other ones that I really liked, that are at least the one I've heard the most about besides Jesse Buckley, is David Borenstein, who directed Mr. Nobody Against Putin, which I did watch. He that one for best documentary film,
Mm-hmm.
feature documentary. And he came up, and I'll give the quote. I got this from My Vote, My Choice org on Instagram. He said, "You lose your country through countless small acts of complicity. When we act complicit when a government murders people on the streets, when oligarchs take over the media and control how we produce and consume it. We all face a moral choice, but even a nobody is more powerful than you think." And I thought that was a beautiful way. I mean, I don't think that could be more true of what we're seeing, no matter, well, depends on what news you tune into. But I think he's absolutely right. And I think that this film that's about Russia and this one teacher that stood up in Russia, it was just interesting to see, unfortunately, a lot of parallels with what's going on in our own nation. And I just thought that was beautiful and eloquent and well thought out and really took my breath away.
Some other ones that we also liked were Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value. Paul Thomas Anderson gave a good speech when he won for, I can't remember if it was writing or directing one of those speeches, but
Yeah.
he gave a good speech about movies that were nominated in the 70s, 1972, when there
Oh,
were.
I think it was Best Picture.
Okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
because
yeah. Yep. When he got up there
he
for
was
Best
saying the
Picture.
other movies that were nominated for Best Picture. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a good speech as well. He was up there a couple of times, obviously, throughout the night.
Mm-hmm.
And then Autumn, the cinematographer for Sinners, I don't want to ruin her middle name or last name there, but
I think it's Autumn Durald Arkapaw.
Okay. She was the first woman ever to win for cinematography.
Yay! Ooh, 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 ooh.
And that was such a cool moment as well, because again, Ryan Coogler so supportive of her, and her speech was honestly fantastic. She said
It was.
she told all the women in the room to stand up and get acknowledged, and it was one of the highlights of the night for sure, for a category that normally just kind of goes under the radar. So,
and she was the first woman to ever win, and she's the first woman of color to win too. And also, I love that this was another one that's kind of like what you said about Michael B. Jordan. She took the time to acknowledge other people and said, when all the women stood up, she said, "I don't get here without you." And I thought that was beautiful. I think that humility is such an attractive quality. And when people really recognize that it takes a team of people for you to really achieve something, I think that says a lot about a person. So I am thrilled for her. And gosh, there were so many good speeches. This was like the year of good speeches and really good films. And I felt a sense of camaraderie this year that I don't remember seeing before, or at least not for the last decade, where I felt like obviously mainly this battle between the movies were One Battle After Another versus Sinners. But I felt there was such touching moments between Ryan Coogler and Paul Thomas Anderson congratulating each other. There's videos circulating of Michael B. Jordan hugging Leonardo DiCaprio after he won, and he just hugs him forever. And that was his competition. But it was like this moment where these men, which I loved seeing this, were acknowledging just such a sentimental, beautiful moment. And Michael B. Jordan called out, like made a sweet signal to Jesse Plemons, who was also his competition this year, not actually nominated, but Jesse Plemons, they started on Friday Night Lights
Hmm.
together. And it's just beautiful to kind of see this support from people. And we just don't normally see that. It was beautiful.
And I felt the same way, like, when somebody from Frankenstein would win, like, they won a couple of those technical categories, like, same thing, like, Guillermo del Toro, and Jacob Elordi were celebrating them and high-fiving them as they went up to the stage, and other people that worked on the movie. So, like you said, yeah, a lot of these movie productions felt like they really had a sense of family to them that were nominated this year, for sure.
Yeah.
So some snubs on the night. Marty Supreme won nothing, got shut out. I think it was
He
nominated
should.
for 9 awards, did not win a single one. It just was never gonna. It was never the favorite in really any category it was nominated in, except maybe Best Actor for Timothy. But every other
Right.
category, it seemed like it was probably the third or fourth choice in that category. So a little unfortunate for the Marty Supreme team, but you know, I don't even know how long people will remember that movie. I don't know if next year or 2
No.
years from now people will be talking about that. It doesn't seem like it has a lasting impact as much as something like Sinners or One Battle After Another, or even something like Train Dreams does. You know, leaves more of an
Mhm.
emotional impact with you, and Marty Supreme doesn't really do that.
Or even Hamnet. We saw
Hmm.
so many
Yep.
conversations stem from Hamnet this year about how the experience of like shared grief and going to theaters together and all of that stuff and supporting the arts. So yeah, I just think Marty is not a movie that's gonna leave much of an impression. The other thing I did want to say, I won't dwell on this, but after a lot of reflection, like leading up to the Oscars, the more I watched, the more I just thought about things. I would completely change. I don't think I would change what my favorite movies were of 2025, but I do think I would dramatically switch the order of best, like my top 10. And I do think Hamnet would still be my number one because that one, for personal reasons and everything else in my life right now, meant the most to me. But I would definitely change where Sinners is. I would put Marty Supreme further down. I would move the documentaries down the list. So I just wanted to say I would change it now, but hindsight's 2020, and also movies are objective, and I think too subjective. And I also think that it depends on when you see things. What you're feeling that day, what you're experiencing is going to impact. Even when we were making the list before we recorded the episode, I was impacted that day, like how I felt that day about those movies. So, anyway.
Now we'll give you a few minutes here to rant about Sean Penn, who won for Best Supporting Actor for One Battle After Another. That was a very competitive category. A lot of great performances in that category.
Yeah.
Even one from that movie, Benicio del Toro, also nominated for One Battle After Another. But Sean Penn gets the win, was not even at the ceremony, decided he didn't want to show up for the biggest award that the movie industry hands out. And so Kieran Culkin just accepted it on his behalf. Cracked a little joke slash also like kind of
I
dig
loved
at
it.
him. Yeah, it was like
It was shady.
Sean Penn is not here either because he can't or doesn't want to be. Like basically,
Yep.
like, yeah, he just didn't decide to show up. So go ahead. The floor is yours. What is your rant about Sean Penn winning this award?
Thank you. Okay, so I want to actually rant but sound reasonable here. So I think it was always between Delroy Lindo for Sinners, Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value, and Sean Penn for One Battle After Another. I personally, out of those three, I probably really would have wanted to maybe give it to Stellan. I think Stellan is not at all old, but nearing more the end of his career. I think that Delroy actually has a lot more opportunities coming his way. I wouldn't have been upset in the slightest if Delroy won, but I just personally liked Stellan's performance a little, stuck with me a little bit more. Anyway, Sean Penn, what really stood out to me was people keep talking about this. People's reactions when Sean Penn won. First of all, you could see in the room that people were irritated that he wasn't there. And Kieran definitely didn't hide that, you could tell, but also Delroy, because you think this man is a Black actor who is extremely talented, who has worked in this industry over 50 years, and finally gets nominated for an Oscar in his 70s and doesn't win. And how many more times is he going to have that chance? Sean Penn, and I'm not saying we should always say, oh, they already have awards, we don't need to give them more. But Sean Penn has already won twice. He has publicly said how much he doesn't care about these things and how much he doesn't appreciate them. It is not an honor to him. And I think there's a fine line between being um, reasonable about I don't need the public eye and I don't need to be put on a pedestal. I'm a regular human being, and also just being ungracious. And I think he is extremely ungracious. And I don't care. I kind of care, but I don't really care about all that people say he does for humanity and all this stuff because here's what really, really made me mad. Of course, once all this stuff is circulating about he won, he didn't come to the ceremony, people were like, well, he was in Ukraine. And I was like, that's interesting timing, isn't it? Because you're about to win an award and you're telling me this day and this time was when you had to go to Ukraine. And he did this the last time he won too, because a couple years ago when the war started, he brought his Oscar to Ukraine and gave it to President Zelensky and said, you're doing so much more. I don't care about this. You can give President Zelensky, with all due respect, so many more things that will matter just as much, if not more, than your Academy Award. What's he going to do? Melt it down? Like, what is the point of that? And please notice this, that for all his activism and everything, we all know about what Sean Penn does because there's always a camera. There's always a camera, a film crew, and photographers there. So you can tell me, oh, it's the good of his heart. He really cares about Darfur. I remember the Darfur thing. He has talked endlessly about Ukraine. It's awesome to support those causes. I love Ukraine and stand with Ukraine. But it is insane to me that he had to do it at that date and time. And there happened to be a camera crew and photographers. So, and then other things like even at the Golden Globes this year, I'm pretty sure it was the Golden Globes, smoking in the vicinity. I just think there were pregnant women in the vicinity. There's probably people with COPD. I'm sure there was at least one person on oxygen, and you're smoking because you can't walk 200 feet to go outside to do it. He's just an inconsiderate a-hole, and I am beyond irate that he won and how ungracious he is. Thank you for listening.
Good rant. Good rant for sure. I would agree.
You know what? Can I say one more thing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Also, I am kind of ticked at the Academy for awarding him with it, the members who voted for him, because this isn't new behavior from him. And so it does make me question who voted for him. And also, why does he keep getting jobs? Because there are other people who are great actors that can act unhinged and crazy in a role. And then the last thing is how much, I said this when we talked about One Battle, how much was he really acting in that film? He is a lunatic. I don't know that that's acting. I think he just showed up to set, acted as himself, and got another Oscar for it. So that's just what I think. I might be coming on too strong, but he truly, I just think so little of him. He is a gross human being to me.
So with that win, he now ties the record for all-time male acting wins at the Oscars. There's 4 people that have won 3 acting Oscars on the male side. It's him, Jack Nicholson, Walter Brennan, and Daniel Day-Lewis. So those are the 4, but one of the most awarded actors now at the Academy Awards. But you're right, every year that he wins or every time that he wins, it's always a big story. It's never about the movie. It's always about why wasn't he there? And it detracts from the movie as well. Like the movie and his performance in the movie. Nobody's talking about that really. It's just like the fact that he wasn't there to get the award and why wasn't he there and why is he, like you said, like we're not even talking about his performance in the movie. We're talking about the reason why he wasn't there to accept the award. So
and why he showed up to the other awards this year. Why'd you miss the Oscars? And if you're so concerned about Ukraine, why didn't you go last month? Why didn't you go 2 months ago? Why are you not living in Ukraine and fighting the war? If you're so deeply concerned, and if you really want to be someone who helps these people and stuff, why do you have to have a film crew with you to make sure that it's covered?
And it'll be interesting to see if he even comes next year to present the award for Best Supporting Actor, or if he just skimps out and somebody else has to come and do it. So, yeah. So that's thoughts on Sean Penn. We do have some fun facts. We'll just roll through those very quickly before we get to Best and Worst Dressed. One interesting thing that you found, this was from Boardroom on Insta. 3 directors won their first Best Director Oscar when Leo was in one of their movies. It was James Cameron, Martin Scorsese, and now Paul Thomas Anderson. So He gets those Oscars.
Yes, I thought that was super interesting.
Also, Ludwig Göransson, 41 years old. He's already got 3 Oscars for Black Panther, Oppenheimer, and Sinners. He has more Oscars than Hans Zimmer and is just behind John Williams. And he's going to score The Odyssey later this year, which will likely get him another Oscar nomination next year because that's expected to be one of the biggest movies of the year. So I think he'll be right back there next year in that category. But very cool. And all 3 of those scores that he's won for are kind of so different. Black Panther, obviously, big action movie. Oppenheimer was a little bit more of like a muted score per se. And then Sinners is like, it's the score is so important to that movie and kind of the time period and everything. So it's just cool that he's done different types of music for all 3 of those that he's won for, because, you know, some of these composers kind of stay in their lane and kind of do the same type of thing, but he's really branched out and has done a lot of different stuff just in his career. And again, he's only 41 years old. So
And then the only other thing that was really interesting, Jessie Buckley, this is from That Cinebuff on Instagram. Jessie Buckley became the 4th actress ever to sweep every major Best Actress award. The only other people that have done that are Helen Mirren for The Queen, Kate Blanchett for Blue Jasmine, and Natalie Portman for Black Swan. So they're talking about, hopefully I can get this all right, BAFTA, Golden Globe, Oscar,
and the SAG or
can't
the
think
Actor
of-
Award.
Actor
Okay.
Award. We're missing a 5th one. But
Okay.
anyway, all the main categories, that means she won Best Actress. So she won the 5 major categories,
Oh.
which is super cool.
Is Critics' Choice the other one? Is that the 5th one?
Oh, I think you're right.
Okay.
Critics' Choice. Yep.
Which they don't have us vote on, which is weird because we're critics. So we should be able to vote on those.
No, right? Hello.
But yeah, that's some high company there. And I think all of those are, well, you know, those are obviously very well-known actresses. Kate Blanchett winning that many awards for Blue Jasmine is a little weird, but we'll excuse it.
I remember I did not like that movie. I was shocked. Helen Mirren for The Queen and Black Swan for Natalie Portman. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those. That makes sense to me. And I love Kate Blanchett, but I was like, really? Blue Jasmine? Out of all her filmography? Okay.
And we also did our Oscars brackets on ESPN, which don't know how much crossover there is between Oscars fans and people that use ESPN, but they had a bracket thing and we or Oscars pick 'em, and we did that. You did very well in it. I think I was 1 behind you. I think I was 19-5 maybe overall, and then you were 20-4.
Yes. So it was really good. It was just fun to enter. I think the reason they did that is I think they have a partnership because everything was broadcast on Hulu
and
or
ABC.
ABC.
Yeah, okay.
Then that's why ESPN was involved. But obviously, if you did really well, you get tickets to the Oscars the next year, which I thought probably not. But I told our very good friend Will, shout out to Will, we love so much. Will and Jared and I were texting, communicating all day at the Oscars. And I said, I'm going to make some gambles tonight. And the main ones I did were cinematography, because a lot of people thought One Battle After Another would win, Best Actor, and Best Picture. And I got 2 out of the 3 of the gambles right. And I usually don't do a gamble because I would rather be right. And this year I was like, you know what? I should go with what I actually think is going to win. But I was wrong about Best Picture. So, you know.
But you still did well. So
thank you. Yes, it was super fun.
So now we'll move on to everybody's favorite best and worst dressed. Now, if you remember a couple of weeks ago on our preview episode, I predicted that there was going to be some mint green and some light pink going on. And
you were right.
You predicted yellows and blues and red.
Yep.
And we had a little bit of all that going on.
We really did. Because I always want to say red, but a lot of people don't do red on the red carpet because they think it'll like
clash,
run together. Yeah. But of my favorite best dressed and stuff, like everybody, all the colors that we mentioned are in the best dressed, except maybe yellow, but there was some yellow. I went less crazy this year with these. I didn't do a middle of the road either. I used to do that. I used to say best, and I kind of liked this, and then worst dressed. So I just wanted to make this shorter and less painful for people in case they don't like this section. I will say, I will first go over Vanity Fair. I only picked 3 people. The reason I picked them was either I didn't comment on them for best dressed, or I liked what they wore to the Vanity Fair party, which is directly after the Oscar party. That's like the one everybody wants to go to. I liked what they wore better to the Vanity Fair party than what they wore to the Oscars. So those are Alba Baptista, who is Chris Evans' wife, that lucky, lucky girl. She was in Ellie Saab. It was red, stunning. She just looked beautiful. And I also loved it because she had a baby in 2025. But she looks so good, just gorgeous and really happy. And you would think I would be really jealous of her, but honestly, they looked so cute and so in love, and I'm really happy for them. So I loved her outfit. And again, it was red. Wunmi Mosaka for centers, she wore Louis Vuitton. I think for both looks of the night, she looked stunning at the Oscars. She was wearing a green dress, but I liked her Vanity Fair look better personally. It was purple. It was so beautiful and elegant. And it had like almost like a cape feature. It was super cool. And then this one I do feel strongly about. Some people went gaga over Elle Fanning's look for the Oscars. I heard somebody describe it. It was white. I heard somebody describe it as very prom, and I actually kind of agree with that. It
Hmm.
had kind of like a prom aesthetic to it. It was a gorgeous dress. I am not trying to downplay the dress, but I don't love her in stark white. She has the complexion I do, and stark white is not a shade that is extremely flattering on our skin tone, I would say. Like, I even think we're both cool toned women. Like, we have very similar complexions. But she wore a black dress from Givenchy to the Vanity Fair party, and it was great. So those would be my picks for Vanity Fair.
Nice. I will
Okay.
say, I just wanted to say
Yes.
Elle Fanning real quick. I felt like if we were picking an MVP of the red carpet, I might give it to her.
Oh,
I saw
so good.
saw an interview of her on E, and then when I switched over to
Mhm.
ABC, she was on that red carpet show too. Both interviews were
Yep.
fantastic. She was funny, personable. She talked about the movie a little bit.
She's
She talked
so
about her
personable.
sister. Just really engaging to listen to her for a few minutes talk about her acting career
Yep.
and sentimental value. So
And actually, out of all the awards, like if you look at the entire award season, I would say there are 3 MVPs for just dressing consistently great the whole time. It was Elle Fanning, Wunmi Mosaka, and Chase Infinity. Chase Infinity, my God, for this being her first run, first movie, everything, she should be on cloud 9. I didn't love her Oscar dress. She looked
okay.
beautiful, she looked youthful. It just wasn't my favorite, especially compared to others, I guess. But she looked great at Vanity. She looked beautiful, but I liked her Vanity Fair look better too. Okay, I'm gonna go with worst first, okay? Because let's end on a high note here. I only have 4 people. Paul Mescal was wearing Celine. I didn't like it. He had a weird, it was like a bow tie thing. I don't know if he was going for the Shakespearean look. I'm not sure what was going on, but it just wasn't for me. Some people thought it was great. I personally didn't. He could do better. Um, Unfortunately, Chloe Zhao was wearing Gabriella Hearst. I wasn't offended by the dress, but before the Oscars, when she was on the red carpet, she had like a veil. It looked spooky. I thought if you were I was like, if your movie was Black Swan or something, like, okay, or The Ring, I don't know,
Yeah.
like a horror film, this actually would make sense, but also seems costumey. It was a very strange choice for the Oscars. Also, I noticed a lot of people wore black this year, and I think that's a pretty stark color and kind of like a wild choice to me for the Oscars. I know there's like black tie and stuff, but I feel like that is the one time you maybe shouldn't wear black. And I was kind of stunned by how much black was on men and women at the Oscars this year. Okay. Um Unfortunately, so my worst dressed woman was Amy Madigan in Dior. It's Dior. I don't know how they did it wrong. She wore like a pantsuit kind of a thing,
It
but
didn't
the
look fancy enough for the Oscars.
you're right. Yes. And it looked like something, honestly, it looked like something a non-celebrity would wear to a nice party, like a
Mhm.
mom, my mom's generation that's going to someone's party and really doesn't like to wear dresses. It looks like something they could go get at like a Stein Mart or Kohl's or something. It was just, it didn't look high quality. The colors, again, it was mostly black. It had like hints of yellow and orange, but man, I didn't like it. And those sunglasses were not doing her any favors. I was like, Amy, she's been, I think it had been 40 years since her last Oscar nomination, and she actually won. And I was like, this is what you picked. Okay.
Hmm.
Bold, bold. But she's a lovely person. Uh, my least favorite, listen, no one's, I don't think you're going to be shocked by this. I did hear one person say this was a great, like a sleigh. And I was like, you are incorrect. Timothy Chalamet. Horrible. Hated everything about it. And I'm not just saying that because of his current vibe. He was in Givenchy, which upset me because Givenchy is fantastic. It was a completely white suit, these horrible shoes. Nothing looked right. It just did not look good. Again, white is not his color either. I was shocked. I was shocked that was his pick. He literally showed up and I saw him and I was by myself watching it on the red carpet and I said, well, he just gave up. Like, I just feel like he started all this controversy and was not doing well, and then he just completely gave up. So terrible. And then if you look at the Vanity Fair look, he wore almost the exact same look, but worse to the Vanity Fair party. It was terrible.
Can I also? I have one.
Thoughts on any of that? What?
Yeah, I was gonna agree with you on Timmy. I did not love that look. It screamed like, "I'm here. I'm important. I'm."
Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't even win, obviously. I would
Ugh,
also one that I did not love was Kieran
tell me.
Culkin. I didn't like the suit jacket
Mm.
color, and I thought the cut was like not extremely flattering. I thought when he won last year, his suit was much better, and the cut was better too.
Yeah, I agree.
I know he was just going out there to present an award, but I felt like that just wasn't a great look for the guys. I also don't love this trend that has started in the past couple of years where some of the bigger names, especially the men, decide they're going to get to the Oscars 10 minutes before it starts, do no pictures, do no red carpet interviews, just kind of
Uh huh.
breeze on into the ceremony. I don't know. That just rubs me the wrong way. Like Timmy didn't do any red carpet interviews. Leo didn't do any red carpet interviews.
Oh, I was going to say, I think Timmy, it was 100% on purpose
Yeah,
because he knew that it was not going to be good for him.
yeah, and I think that makes sense for him. But I think some of the other names that were bigger names too just didn't do any red carpet interviews from what I saw. And so I
Yeah.
would have just liked a little bit more of that. Obviously, it's about the star power. Like, yes, it's good that we can get Elle Fanning and Wagner Moura on the red carpet and the Golden Singers on the red carpet show. But like, shouldn't we be getting Leonardo DiCaprio and Michael B.
Hmm.
Jordan and some of these bigger name people like
Right.
on the red carpet? That's kind of what makes the red carpet the red carpet. I mean, it's exciting to see the actors and actresses, but I feel like the big names
Yeah.
not doing the interviews and not really walking the carpet is kind of odd.
Also, if you don't win, that might be the only chance we get to see or hear from you the entire night.
Yeah, and I know some of these actors
I
don't need publicity at all. They're famous enough. They don't need to do
uh-huh.
red carpet interviews to boost their status or whatever, but it still would
Mhm.
be nice to hear from some of them.
So men's fashion, I will say this. Well, I agree. So Kieran's suit, I actually liked the color of the suit. I did not like the color of the suit with the black underneath it. That was such an odd choice.
Maybe
So I
that was
agree
my
with you.
problem with it. Maybe it wasn't the suit
And
color. Maybe it was
yeah,
the undershirt.
and
Yeah.
he never tries with his hair, and it
No.
really bothers me. I don't get it.
How did
Like we
you,
could fix that hair.
before we move on to best dressed, how'd you feel about all the
Yes.
the brooches this year? Because that was a big
Oh,
theme.
so that was Jared. That was my second comment. So if you all did not catch on, brooches are the moment right now, and I love them. Personally, I have a lot of brooches, but I love it on men. I almost every man had a brooch on. I am here for it. I think it's a beautiful way to accessorize a suit. I think you can make a statement with them, like a political statement, or you can just have a brooch on. The only one I absolutely hated was Adrian Brody's. It was enormous, enormous. Like completely took, like I was distracted. I couldn't even look at his face when he was talking because I kept looking at how big the brooch was, and it was about the size of his face. Um, there's the soundbite for us. But anyway, I love the brooches personally. What are your thoughts, Jared?
I thought they were cool. I thought they fit the people that decided to wear
Okay.
them. It's kind of a cool fashion accessory that you can add to your outfit that people see.
Hmm.
That's not like, and sometimes it's hard if you're a guy and you want to have like a fashion accessory. It can be
For
hard to
sure.
find something. I feel like a brooch is very appropriate. Some guys will go with a watch or whatever, a nice watch, which looks nice too.
Hmm.
But I felt like the brooches, you get a little more personality because you get to see why they picked it or why the designer picked it or whatever. So I thought they were good.
Yeah.
I liked the trend.
Could not agree more. And I think in this day and age, I love this, that we're getting much less more like masculine, feminine. We're getting just like, hey, people can just wear what they want to wear. But I also think it's a neat way that they can have jewelry and accessorize without feeling like it's, oh, I have to have my ears pierced and I'm wearing a chain and all this stuff. So
Like
I thought that was great.
even Leo had a little brooch on, of a
He
butterfly.
did.
So
He had a little, I think it was a bumblebee. And
okay.
I forgot to look that up because I was going to look up if there was a significance there. So,
And of course, he had his Rolex on, which he always does. So,
I mean, who doesn't have one at this point? Okay, so are you ready for my best dress?
Yes.
I only have 6.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just say the ones that are runners up, beautiful, but I won't dwell on them. Kate Hudson in Armani Privé, she was wearing mint green, looked stunning. Her hair looked great. I loved the cut of this dress. That color was fantastic on her. Just absolutely a stunner. I also loved Rose Byrne showed up. I saw her. She was the first person I think I saw on the red carpet. She was in Dior. Gorgeous. She was first of all wearing like a necklace that I think is made by Givenchy's nephew who does jewelry. But her dress was Dior, but her lipstick perfectly matched the red floral detail. It was stunning. And when she did the bridesmaids tribute, like it sparkled like it was, I don't know, it was out of this world. She looked gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Emma Stone in Louis Vuitton, she always wears Louis Vuitton. I think that's her favorite designer by far. She looked stunning. She almost won best dressed for me. I personally would have changed her hair. I didn't think that hairstyle looked fancy enough. And there was something about where the side part was. I don't know. I just thought everything else was ethereal. It was also cool. It was giving like Jane Austen vibes, but modernized. It was beautiful. And that is someone too that I think really knows their complexion well. Again, we have similar complexions, but that was a color. It was like ivory, which is very different than stark white. And it looked beautiful on her. So kudos to her stylist or her for picking that out. Okay, here's my top people. My runner up for the men is Michael B. Jordan in Louis Vuitton. I thought he looked so good. Honestly, we could put 35 crush alerts in here and it would be appropriate, but we already know how I feel about him. I will say the chain, he had a chain detail. That was his like decoration. I didn't personally love that. That's not my thing, but it worked for the outfit. It really did. It just wasn't like I wouldn't have picked that, but I loved the collar on his suit. The black looked gorgeous on him. Just and he knows how to wear clothes. Like, I don't know who trained that man, but he knows how to wear clothes. So that was Louis Vuitton. He's my runner up. You'll never believe my number one male pick for best dressed. It is Leonardo DiCaprio in Dior. He looked hotter than he has looked in probably 20 years. I was like, who is this? Who is this? I don't know if he quit smoking. I doubt it, but something has happened to that man. He looked more fit. I loved the mustache. There's a meme going around that said he stole Pedro Pascal's mustache because Pedro Pascal came and was clean shaven. I thought that was very funny. He looked so good with the mustache. Who would have ever thought that that would look so good? I loved his brooch. That was a bumblebee. Just looked beautiful. It was a very timeless, elegant suit. And he looked happy. He looked happy and he looked healthy. And I was thrilled for him. So
nice.
Dang, keep it going, Leo. And my top woman, no one will be surprised. Also, basically the minute I saw her, I was like, okay, you just won best dressed in a category. No one cares what Katie Gainey West thinks, but Jessie Buckley. She was in Chanel. Another reason I love this. First of all, favorite color combination of all time of mine is pink and red. I will buy anything, a tea towel, a headband, a shirt, anything that's pink and red. I love those two colors together. Those are my two favorite colors. It was the perfect shades or tones of each for her skin color, her skin, like her complexion. Her hair was gorgeous. It was so simple, so chic. Her styling, like any kind of jewelry, accessories like that, fantastic. And what I also love is it was an ode to Grace Kelly's 1956 Oscar dress that was done by Edith Head, who was like the most famous costume designer of the 50s, who won a gazillion Oscars, by the way. But I thought that was such a beautiful way to like pay tribute to that dress, but use a different designer. And I loved that she broke precedent. So many women, there have been more women that have worn white to win Best Actress Oscar than any other color. And I love that she showed up in color, like a vibrant color, because if I was an actress and I was famous, that's exactly what I would do for the Oscars. So gorgeous, absolutely best dressed, hands down, no contest.
I had a few others that while you were discussing those, I was looking at pictures and it reminded me of some people
Oh,
that
yes,
I
please.
liked. So I had another for the worst dress list. I don't know how you feel about this. Demi
Tell
Moore.
me.
I don't know who she was wearing.
Oh, yes.
Then
I
the
agree.
little
Some people loved it.
the little whatever those were, feathers or things.
It was
Yeah.
feathers. I love feathers if they're, responsibly sourced. I love feathers anyway. Regardless, I love feathers. I didn't love it. I didn't outright hate it, but she just looks I don't want to get into appearances, but agree with you. But Jared, if you looked at her Vanity Fair one, she wore feathers, and I thought that was way worse than what she
Ooh,
wore to the Oscars.
I did not look up that one. So
But it's very similar.
you're gonna get my
I'll tell you
live
whose
reaction
appearance
here in just a
scared
second.
me. Thank you. I'll tell you who scared me was Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
She looked thin. Like,
Can't say I
concerning.
love. I don't love the Vanity Fair one either. No, that would.
Yeah, but I think it
more
was worse.
feathers.
But I'm with you. Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt. I agree with you. Demi Moore for me was not a best dress pick, but I know some people really liked it.
My other best dressed guys that I was going to throw on here, Damson Idris from F1 was wearing Prada. I just looked up. It was like this blue. It wasn't a really suit. It was more of like a jacket thing that like buttoned, and it had this like fur type thing going on up at the neck. I just thought it was cool. I just thought it was unique. Nobody else was wearing something like that, and I felt like it fit
True.
him. So
I thought the color was gorgeous, and I thought the suit. He is a gorgeous man. I didn't like the fur. Really, that was
Okay.
the only reason I didn't put him on the list. Was I thought the fur seemed kind of really the fur to me actually kind of looked a little bit cheap.
okay,
And
yeah.
I'm not trying to disparage the designer. I just was like, maybe not for me.
I think I
But
just liked.
respect. I love that you have these opinions.
I think
though.
I just liked the jacket color, and he was going on with a brooch.
Yeah.
So yeah, thought that was cool.
Yep.
I had Jacob Elordi, and I think this is this Bottega Veneta?
Yes.
Okay, Veneta.
Bottega Veneta.
Okay.
And I thought he looked great too. Jacob Elordi has been killing it. He I don't know if he has a stylist or what, but I do think it's probably pretty hard to dress a man that's 6'5", because I think that's what he is, 6'5". Man, he does a great job. He looks great.
And then my final one was Ryan Coogler, who was in Louis Vuitton. I thought I liked him too. So
And can we talk about his hair? Have you heard about his hair?
So did I read somewhere that he put a guitar into his cornrows?
Yes.
Okay.
There's two things. So he had braids, and on the side, his braids were in the shape of a guitar. And on the back, it was a full-on treble clef. It was fantastic. Whoever did his hair should get an Oscar.
That was very, very cool. So yeah, those were cool little nods to the movie. And I just thought his suit looked really good too. Very classy. Nice cut, nice fit. So there's a picture of him and Michael B. Jordan standing together with their Oscars, and both of them, like you had Michael B. on the best dress list, obviously, but both of them just look really classy. So really well done.
They really did. The men, I was really
the men
impressed
are getting
with the
men are getting better. I feel like
they're getting it. They are totally figuring it out. Timmy should take note. Now, I'm not defending Timothy in any way, but I did wonder with his outfit. It was very Y2K. I wonder if part of that was continuing this Marty Supreme bizarre marketing
Do you have
ploys. Like yeah.
I was gonna say, do you have a feeling about Kylie's dress at all?
Oh, absolutely I do, Jared. She showed up looking like Jessica Rabbit from freaking Who Framed Roger Rabbit in Schiaparelli. I was like, oh, wow, this is so crazy. Your cleavage is on display. She had to do like a video and send it out to her millions of viewers. And I was like, you could have just gone to the show to support your boyfriend. And then she picked essentially the same dress by Schiaparelli in black, and that's what she wore to the Vanity Fair party. And I was like, wow, Kylie, you are really outside the box. What a trendsetter. You showed your cleavage. You wore a really tight dress. Everything's on display. What an unusual pick for you.
I'm looking at, I had not seen the Timothée Chalamet Vanity Fair pictures. Did he just like take the tie off and basically say, "This is my outfit for Vanity Fair"?
I couldn't even tell. I think it's a different suit.
Okay, it looks exactly the same, like you said.
It might be the same suit. It looked like the shoes changed.
I think, yes, the shoes did change slightly, not a ton, but
the poor guy's just given up. I mean, I could go on about all the jabs that night. Really, my last thing to close out Oscar season and the Timothée Chalamet of it all is I just hope he's learned a lesson. I don't full on hate this man. He's definitely off my list though. But I hope this was a lesson to other people about humility and how. First of all, if you're doing an Oscar campaign, they don't like the gimmicks. The Academy voters do not like gimmicks. They don't need all these marketing ploys during your campaign. And I also just think it really goes a long way to be humble, and it really goes a long way to acknowledge that we are all, if we succeed at things, it's because we're standing on the shoulders of other people who helped get us here. And that goes from if you are a trash collector, a president, an actor, a ballerina, an opera singer. It takes all types of people for any of us to achieve anything. So I hope he learned a lesson here. I don't wish him any harm. And I do think he's young and has a lot to learn. So I hope he grows from the experience.
Final question, do you think he gets nominated for Dune 3? The final one in the series?
I could see that happening. Also, I love him in Dune. He is so good at that character, and he's so much less obnoxious when he's promoting it. I did think it was interesting. So the trailer came out today, everybody. We're recording this on Happy St. Patrick's Day. But the next day, like the Oscars had barely ended, and then he posted about Dune 3 trailer coming out tomorrow. And I was like, Timothée, you go take a nap. Just calm down.
I even
go take a nap.
Sent you an Instagram message before the Oscars, and
I
was like,
did?
Dune 3 promo starts tomorrow.
Oh,
like,
yes,
I saw
that.
I guess a joke, on Sunday night. No,
that's what I thought. I thought that was a joke.
It was,
and then,
yeah.
Sure enough, the trailer came out today, and he posted about it yesterday about how the trailer was coming out today. And I think it's great that I do think he's a good actor. I think he is extremely talented. I think he's just gotten too big for his britches too fast, and thinks he deserves, I don't know, accolades that maybe he hasn't earned. And also, I definitely will never defend artists ripping other artists or like saying, hey, my category, the thing I'm skilled at is better than what you do. So actors do not have a harder job than ballerinas versus like people who sing opera, etc. So that I'll never defend that, Timmy.
So that's all of our thoughts on the 98th Academy Awards. Be sure to follow the show on social media at Podcast Silver. Our Letterboxd links are in the description for the show, wherever you're listening, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever. You can find our Letterboxd profiles there. Next episode, not really sure. We might talk a little bit about Project Hail Mary, because that's a big one coming out with Ryan Gosling.
So excited.
If we both enjoy that,
Yes.
and we both have a lot of thoughts on that, we might do an episode on that. Of course, we've got big things coming this summer. We've got The Odyssey coming out. We've got some other big movies that'll be out later this year.
Devil Wears Prada 2.
Yes, that is a big one. So that is,
Yes.
they're really doing a great marketing campaign with that movie, by the way.
They are, and I am eating it up.
And Anne Hathaway at the Oscars hasn't aged a day.
Hasn't aged a day. I didn't love her dress.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just me. It was Valentino. I know she went to his funeral. She was really sad that he died recently. They were like good friends, but I was like, I've seen better.
Also, very funny bit between her and Anna Wintour.
Funny with her and Anna Wintour. That was so good. That was one of the best moments. I think one of the best bits of the night. Yeah.
So there you go. All of our thoughts on the 2026 Oscars.
Until next time, we'd like to thank the Academy